just take a moment, close your eyes, arrive in the space. Take a nice full inhale here. And let it go. And again, inhale. And let it go. One more time, inhale. And let it go. Just allow yourself to come into the space, onto your mat, and into your body. Allow yourself to connect more with yourself, mentally, physically, emotionally. Acknowledging what kind of day it's been, maybe what kind of week it's been. And then see if you can just start to let all of that go as you continue to exhale, just letting go layer by layer, piece by piece. You've made it to the end of the work week. And you've committed to showing up for yourself tonight on your mat. Just allow yourself to be here, fully present in the body, in the breath, with the sensations in your body. You start to maybe take a few longer and deeper inhales and exhales. So allow yourself to drop more into the present. Today we're going to go through the lung and the large intestine meridians. And for those that are newer to the meridians are energy channels that run through the body. There are 12 main meridians, one yin and one yang that go together. The yin is our lung intestine, or as far as our lung is the yin, and the yang or the yang is the large intestine. They usually run in pairs. They usually run very close toward one another. And these that we're working with today are found in the upper body. So they're found along the arms, the outer and inner arms, the collarbones, a little bit into the face, and then of course into the lungs and the large intestine. So our first few poses are going to target the upper body, which will probably feel good to de-stress and let those muscles relax a little bit. The idea of the yin poses, we're holding these long poses and we're either compressing the meridian or we're expanding and lengthening the meridian to help that energy, that chi, start to flow more freely. Take one more full inhale here. And let it go. Allow your eyes to blink open. But from here, we're going to come into child's pose. So using that blanket, take that blanket and lay it down. Or if you're already on a carpet, you don't have to worry about that. You just want a little bit of extra support underneath your legs today for child's pose. So you're going to sit back. If it's too much to sit back on your heels, you can place a block there. You can even place a pillow between your thighs and your calf, so it gives you a little bit more support. And you're just going to start to lengthen your chest forward. If your chest doesn't quite make it all the way to the floor today, double up a couple pillows, let them rest on something, and see if you get your forehead to rest all the way down to the floor. Then just kind of settle in here. Take that first minute for yourself to settle. Find your breath. Let your head relax down. And just talking a little bit about the idea, the principles of yin. So the principles of yin, there are 3. The first one is to come to your edge. So you want to come to a place of discomfort, not pain. You want to be able to sit and be able to breathe and notice the sensations that are happening in the body. But you don't want to go into that point of pain. You want to be able to hold here. We're going to hold here for at least 5 to 8 minutes in each of the poses. And then once you found that edge, you found that place of discomfort but not pain, a place where you feel sensation, and we're targeting more of the joints rather than the softer tissues like the muscles, but sometimes muscles will be tension as well, have tension as well. Then you start to settle into stillness. So you stop with the fidgeting, you don't shift from side to side, you just sit and notice those sensations. And then you hold for three, the third principle. You don't have to worry about the time if you think I will do that for you. So now it's been about a minute and a half we've been here. So start to just kind of drop into your breath, noticing those sensations that are happening in the body as you breathe, as you start to surrender. Just take one little moment and kind of contract all your muscles, kind of squeeze them energetically, and then let them go. And see if you can keep that muscle energy released. So when I talk about let go of the muscle energy, that means don't use your muscles. Let yourself just relax down. So in this pose, we're starting to target those meridians that run along the line, the arms. We're targeting all the meridians in this pose, at least 12 meridians, especially in the legs. We're compressing those. As you start to lengthen and deepen your breath, maybe you start to lengthen those arms out a little bit more and then let them relax. So we're definitely targeting the shoulders with our arms forward. We're targeting the hips, the knees, the ankles. We're getting into those connective tissues that surround the joints, allowing them to be compressed and have a little bit of stress in them so that new energy is taken to them, new blood, new fluids. And then you can continue to stay here with your arms stretched out. If you'd like to target a little different for about a minute, you're going to take your left arm and you're going to slide it underneath the right arm and lay down onto that left side. So you're kind of coming into a little bit of a twist. Let your head drop down. If it's too much for your head to drop down, you can rest it on a pillow. You can rest it on a bolster or a block. But if it's too much for your neck here, but you're just kind of taking that left arm underneath the right and then letting yourself drop down. So again, targeting a little bit more of those meridians that run along the arms, that lung and that intestine. And then see if you can let that right arm relax. And then if you've taken that left arm out to the side, press gently into the right hand so you can slide that left arm back forward. And then take the right arm and slide it under the left. And then once you're there, just go ahead and relax. And breathe into that. Keep taking your right hand over to the side, press into that left hand, slowly bring yourself back up. Take both arms back out in front, pause there. Take a full inhale here. And side out. Slowly start to walk those hands back toward your knees. And then shift your weight forward, coming onto those hands and knees. Just pause there for a moment. Notice the sensations in the hips, in the ankles, in the knees. And then maybe take a couple of movements here, maybe find a little cat-cow, maybe lengthen and round the spine. Going nice and slow, maybe even tucking those ankles, pressing back into the toes, find some flexion in the ankles. Whatever movement's going to feel good right now to release that pose. If you need to give the knees a little bit of a break, maybe press into the hands and lift the hips, do a little downward dog. So we are going to come back to our knees again. Just take a couple moments there. And then dropping back down. So this next pose is heart melting pose. It's the yin counterpart to puppy pose. So you're going to have your knees nice and wide. You're going to try and keep your hips right over your knees. You're not going to let them sit back like child's pose. You're going to keep them forward. And then to start, bring the pillow or a blanket, a bolster underneath your chest to begin. So it's just going to give you a little support. Eventually, if you don't need it, take it away, but it's better to have it there to start rather than to not have it. And then from here, you're just going to kind of bring those pillows so they're the middle of the pillows kind of right at the top of your collarbone. And then walk your hands forward and start to drop your chest down onto those pillows. So then start to adjust as you need. Elbows can bend. You're going to just drop down. You're going to place your chin either in the pillows or on the floor, whatever's best for you. So we're really opening up the front of the neck. And then your arms have a couple options, right? So your hips are up nice and high. You can keep your elbows bent, or you can take your right elbow and bring your right hand onto the pillow, rest your forehead on that right hand, or keep that right arm out straight. So we're going to be here for a few moments. If you have that right hand in, that left arm can extend out even more. So pressing that left arm straight as you start to just keep dropping the chest down. So really targeting that lung meridian here. And that lung meridian just starts to run from the base of the collarbone. And it goes all the way across the collarbone, out to the shoulder, and then down the outer arm. And then it ends right down on the outside of the thumb. So it goes to the outside of the arm, outside of the wrist, all the way down to the outside of the thumb. So you might be able to feel a little bit of that energy flow in that area on your arms. But if you have your right arm underneath your forehead, switch it to the left. And if you don't really feel much sensation, you always have the option to take those pillows away and let the chest start melting toward the floor a little bit more. I just usually like a little bit of support underneath my chest. It just feels a little better. And then see if you can relax the arms a little. And if you have your left arm bent, take your left arm out. And then bend both elbows. Take both elbows, bend them, and then press your hand, your top of your head into those arms. So definitely targeting the shoulder joints, the cervical spine, the low back, a little into the lumbar spine. And taking a full inhale here. And let it go. Slowly start to lift the chest. Take those hands back out in front of you. And then from here, you're just gonna lift your chest, slide yourself forward, and then remove those pillows or bolsters, and then lay all the way down onto your belly. Once you've made it down to your belly, take your head, turn it to the right, draw your right leg out to the side. And just pause there for a moment. If it feels better to have your hands down by your side and you're resting your cheek on the floor on a bolster, you can do that as well. And then take that right leg and straighten it. Turn your head to the left, bend your left knee, and pause there for a moment. And coming back to center. And then from here, you're going to prop yourself up onto your elbows. So coming into Sphinx pose. So we're going into Sphinx. So you're going to ground down into those elbows. Your elbows can be wide. If this is too much to lift you up, we've kind of prepared for this, so this should be okay, but if it's not, elbows can go further out, so you have less of that constriction into the low back, that's compression. If you want a little bit more, I always like to have a bolster or a pillow, and I place it right underneath my sternum to allow myself a little bit of support to lay on that, and then I lengthen my legs out. My toes kind of go out, or my heels drop out to the side where my feet are a little bit wider. That's just gonna give me more room in my low back. And then you can pause there. And again, if you're not really feeling much sensation here in this pose, you can always place your elbows up on a bolster. That's gonna lift you and have you be able to come up a little bit higher so that you're putting a little bit more compression into that low back. So targeting the low back, but then we're also targeting those meridians that run down the arms. We're finding some more openness in the front of the body. So that lung meridian, it starts at the outside of your nostril, and then it runs down the side of your cheek, down the side of your neck to your collarbone. And from that collarbone, it'll go into the body, go down toward the intestines, and then it runs across the top of the collarbone, down the outer edge of the arm, and then ends down there by that thumb, but it's on the inside. Or sorry, the inner surface rather than the outside of your arm. So they're a good pair that run along the lines, these long meridian lines. And there's like this little dip that it does. It goes around the elbow as it does that. So there's a little pressure point just near your elbow that helps with different things in the body, which we'll get to in our next pose. Both of these meridian lines are the metal element. So if you're feeling a little unbalanced in these meridians, eating things that have a little bit more metals in them, like iron, those tend to help the digestion system and the intestines. The lung meridian is the meridian of humility. So it has these emotions attached to these meridians, and the lung is humility. Then there's also a couple of intentions that you could use with this pose as you're here, especially if you're feeling a little bit imbalanced. Imbalances can show up as different symptoms like allergies, stomach or respiratory issues for the lung. It can show up in different emotional imbalances, such as having too much judgment, worrying too much, having contempt for others. So then those imbalances are present, you can kind of say to yourself these two different intentions. I am humble, or I am tolerant. I always feel like I am accepting this a little bit. Those are the two that kind of relate to this, to the lung meridian. So if it feels okay for the neck, if you've been holding your neck up, maybe start to drop your head down and start to compress the front of the neck into that lung meridian. Just notice where you might be holding any tension. See if as you exhale, you can release that muscle tension, drop deeper into the body. Just a few more cycles of breath here. Anytime your body says that it's done with the pose, feel free to come out. There's no need to stay in something that has got to that point that it's so uncomfortable that it's bordering on pain. Full inhale here. And let it go. If you have any cushion underneath your chest, go ahead and release that. Lay all the way down. Turn your head to the right, draw that right knee out to the side again. Pause there. And then slowly switching to the other side. Coming back to center. Then pausing there for a moment. And then from here, press yourself up onto your hands and knees. And again, if you want maybe a couple rounds of cat-cow, maybe any movements that are going to feel good. We are going to lay back down onto our back, but we're going to do a little bit of a different stretch. So I'm going to kind of show you that stretch. If laying back down on the ground isn't going to be good for you, you have an option of eagle arms. So eagle arms would be to bring your palms together and then take your right elbow over your left and kind of squeeze those arms together. That will be your option if you don't want to lay back down. But we're going to lay down on our bellies and we're going to get into those meridians here by bending our elbow, and then we're going to roll toward that elbow. So we're going to roll our chest away from that elbow, so the elbow is going to be on the ground. This is called the angel wing pose. I like that name. Oh, it's so nice. Like you're trying to create that arm coming back behind you, but we're going to use the leverage of the floor to get there. So we've done this in other classes. The idea is you want to keep your elbow not having a lot of compression in it. You want to keep the elbow straight, and then you're just going to adjust that elbow with your height of your shoulder. That's going to feel best for your shoulder and your elbow. So I just wanted to stand up to kind of show you, or sit up before I lay down. And I'm going to do my right side first. So if you want to position yourself so you can see, so you will roll toward the right, so your left side should probably be facing me, so you can see where my right arm is. I'm just going to move some things out of the way so that you can see that. So as we lay down, you're going to take that right arm out to the side. You're going to bend your elbow. Palm's going to face down. And then you might want to have a little cushion. I usually like to have a block for my head to rest on my head on it, because it's a little awkward on the neck. And then you're going to slide that elbow away from you. And then you're going to start to roll your left shoulder up to the sky. And maybe your legs will stack. Maybe you bend that left knee and you're kind of halfway on your side. Slide anything you need to under your head for support. And then you're going to kind of relax the arm then. So you're going to find this deep sensation in the shoulder. If it's too much in the shoulder, drop the elbow a little lower. Maybe adjust it a little higher. So it just kind of depends on what your shoulder joint is doing. And you can always adjust the pressure with that left hand on the side and press into it or relax it. So we're going to be here just for a couple moments, not too long. This pose will only be about 3 minutes. See if you can relax your jaw. You can always take both knees and bend them as well toward the left. Sometimes that creates a little less sensation in the back, and you can target the arms a little better. Start to tune into those sensations that are happening in the front of the chest. Maybe it's the ribs, the shoulder, the elbow. And as my instructor, Bernie Clark, always used to say, if you're feeling it, you're doing it. If you can relax the jaw, if you can breathe, all the better. Taking a nice full inhale here. And let it go. If your knees are bent, start to straighten them and roll yourself back onto your belly. Allow your forehead to rest on your left hand. Take that right arm down by your side, palm turns up, and just pause there. Just notice those sensations happening in that right arm. And then slowly start to bring that right arm forward again. And then take that left arm out to the side. Bend the elbow. Slide the arm away from you. And then start to roll yourself over. You just kind of notice those sensations. It might be a very little movement to begin. Maybe you bend just the top knee, maybe you bend both knees. And you always have that added little leverage of your right arm if you need it. Just adjusting the arm up or down, depending on how it feels in the shoulder, and keep the elbow bent. And then just breathe, notice those sensations happening in the body. In this pose, this angel wing really targets that large intestine. That large intestine meridian is the yang meridian, and it is associated with self-esteem. And sometimes when there's imbalances in that, emotional imbalances are overwhelming guilt. Different physical symptoms that can show up if this meridian line is imbalanced is shoulder and elbow pain, tennis elbow, joint pains, different teeth issues, constipation, and then the skin issues, rashes, allergies, or different stomach and respiratory problems. The two different intentions or affirmations with this meridian. One is, I am valuable and lovable. The second one, I am inherently pure and whole. Feeling a little imbalanced in these areas, or even just while you're here, maybe talking to yourself, repeating those affirmations, help assist with opening up that meridian line. Taking a full inhale here. And let it go. Slowly start to roll yourself back onto your stomach. Let your forehead rest on your hand. Let that left arm slide down by your side. And take a few moments there. Slowly bring that left arm forward. Bring your hands by your side. Press yourself back up to your hands and knees. And then again, a couple rounds of cat-cow, any motions that are going to feel good. Letting that pose go. And then from here, we're gonna come into a pose called dangle. So just gonna kind of release all that, let those arms go before we start to move more into our lower half of our body. So from here, slowly bring the soles of the feet to the ground. And you might even want to have like a pillow or your blanket. And you're gonna kind of lift halfway up. Slide that pillow or blanket right up into your hip crease, right into your belly. And then let yourself kind of dangle over that. So you have a little bit of support. Your knees are going to be bent. You're just going to wedge that blanket, pillow, bolster, whatever, right up into your hip crease, into your belly. And then just let your head relax, let your arms relax. Knees are bent, so they're not locked out. You're just going to kind of let everything roll forward. So let those arms relax. If your hands easily touch the ground and they're not dangling already, you can interlink opposite hands and elbows and let those elbows lengthen a little bit more toward the floor. In this pose, see if you can relax any tension that you might have in the neck and shoulders. Maybe even open the mouth and sigh out a few breaths. Let everything be heavy. Feeling gravity pulling you down, feeling that length along the arms, along the sideways. And we're not really targeting any muscle tissue. So you want to keep those knees bent. So you're targeting the spine, the hips, the shoulders. I'm going to take a few deep breaths, really getting into the organs. So you have that constriction of that bolster, that pillow. Then you're breathing deep into it. Stimulating the actual organ of the intestines a little bit. And then with that deep breath, that diaphragm is massaging the lungs. Few more rounds of breath here. And slowly release that down. Slowly bend the knees, taking that bolster out. And then go ahead and bring those knees back down to the floor. And just sit up either on the heels or on your booty. And just kind of notice all that sensation that's happening. Blood coming out of the head, the freedom of the belly to expand. Maybe those shoulders feel a little more relaxed. And then from here, you're going to have the option to use the wall space. We're going to go into dragonfly, which is a wide-legged fold. But instead of, if you don't have a wall space, you will sit up, right? Remember, we're not targeting the hamstrings, so you'll just sit up with your legs wide and start to lengthen forward. You can always place blankets, pillows underneath your feet or under your knees. If you do have a wall space, I recommend putting something underneath your back if you don't have a carpet, so you have a little bit more support. And then you're going to come right next to the wall, lay down, and then bring those legs up the wall. Once your legs are up the wall, you're then going to take the legs wide. So you're still targeting that inner groin area, the hip area, but you have gravity kind of taking over and there's no stress in the spine. If you find that this is too much for your legs, you always have your pillows that you can kind of place up underneath your hips to give them a little bit of support so you're finding that edge. Or you can use your block If you use your block, put it at an angle so that it's going to support you better and that edge won't be digging into your leg. So finding your choice, so either upright or laying down with your legs against the wall. And then once you're there, just kind of relax a little bit. Let those legs relax, let the toes relax. You might even need to bend the knees a little bit so that you're letting that inner groin muscle kind of relax a little bit more. You're going to target that inner groin, that inner hip, the outer hip. And so in this area, there's a lot of meridians, the kidney and the liver meridian run down these, and they're good pairs to stimulate when you're working with the lung and the large intestine. So you have both the kidney and the liver meridians are also part of the waste system, where we're eliminating things. It's good to give them a little stimulation when you're stimulating that large intestine. It aids with that digestion, helps alleviate any of those stomach or digestive issues that you might have. Maybe you can start to lengthen and deepen the breath. Notice the sensations that are happening in the body. And paying attention to making sure you're at that edge of discomfort, not pain. Especially when it comes to maybe the inner knee, the outer knee. You don't want pain there, discomfort's okay. Just kind of notice when your mind wanders away from the sensations in the body. Just allow yourself to come back to the body, letting that thought go. You might start to notice that as you relax, as you let that muscle energy go, you're able to maybe open the legs wider, dropping a little deeper into the hips. So always letting your breath be your guide. It's nice and easy, like your natural breath, or you're inhaling and exhaling at a nice pace without forcing. You know you're right about at your edge. You're holding or tensing, if it's choppy. If you're doing little short, quick inhales and long exhales, you've probably gone over your edge. You're stressing the body too much. You find that nice little edge so that you're stressing the body in a good way. Allowing it to feel uncomfortable, but you know that it's good for the body. Just a few more rounds of breath here. Taking a full inhale here. Side out. If you're at the wall, slowly start to help with your hands. Draw those knees together, nice and slow. And then maybe knees draw into your chest, or maybe legs just go straight up the wall for a while. Pausing with whatever feels good. If you're seated, slowly come up to seated. And again, help those knees up. Maybe you sit in a little tuck position. And just notice those sensations. Noticing the effects on the body when that pose. And then making any movements that are going to feel good. Maybe you squeeze the knees in, rock a little bit from side to side. For those that are at the wall, mindfully roll to one side. Pause there for a moment. And then slowly bring yourself away from the wall, giving yourself some space. And we're going to return to our back again. Making your way onto your back. As we come down onto our back, we're going to come into a twist. It's called twisted root. So we're going to get into those meridians on the inner thigh and the outer thigh. But then with our arms, we're going to have a little bit of openness with our arms. So we're going to be able to target those meridians again at the lung and the intestine. Take your hips and kind of shift them over to the right for a moment. And then take that right leg over the left. And you might need maybe a pillow or a blanket on that left side in case your knees don't quite make it. But then you're going to drop those knees over to the left. And that right shoulder might come up. You might need a pillow underneath that right shoulder. You want to make sure that shoulder is touching something, so you just start to build that muscle memory to say, yes, you can relax shoulder. The muscles can relax. Just having a little bit of support kind of lets those muscles let go at the beginning. You're going to feel a big sensation on the outer hip, into the inner groin. Nice sensation from along the outer chest, into the armpit, and out to the fingers. Just breathe here, noticing those sensations that are happening in the body. As the body releases and relaxes, you might find that that edge disappears. And maybe that bolster or pillow from behind the shoulder can come away and that shoulder can relax to the floor. Maybe any support you have under your knees can start to come away slowly as that edge disappears. See if you can lengthen and deepen your breath a little. Just allowing yourself to stay with the pose, with your breath. Noticing the sensations that are happening in the body. And be mindful that there's no like pins or needles happening in the fingers, like your fingers or hands falling asleep. If that tends to happen, just draw your elbow a little bit closer toward your body, so draw it down away from your head, and that should help alleviate that a little bit. If that doesn't really help, you can always take your hand and place your hand on your ribs, those top ribs. So just allowing that elbow to get a little closer to the body. Taking a full inhale here. And let it go. Slowly start to draw those knees back up to center. Uncross the legs. Bring the hips back to center. And then have the feet as wide as your mat. Let your knees drop in. And then bring your hands and rest them on your belly. Just take a couple moments there. Noticing those sensations on the right side of your body. And then whatever props you had on one side, if you need to use them on the other side, place them there so you have them. And then take your hips, shift them to the left. Take that left leg over the right. And then start to drop those knees over to the right. And allowing yourself to use the props to begin. Letting that muscle energy let go so there's no tension in the muscles. Let that left arm open up. Relaxing the muscles. Maybe even taking a couple deep breaths, sighing out the mouth to let it go. And start to settle into that stillness. Resisting the urge to fidget every so many seconds or moments. Allow yourself to just drop in and notice the discomfort. Notice the sensations. Noticing how it feels to lengthen and deepen the breath. Just a few more cycles of breath here. Taking a full inhale here. And let it go. Slowly start to bring those knees back up to center. Bring the hips back to center. Let those feet go the distance of your mat. Let your knees knock in. Pause there. Bring your hands to your belly. And allow those knees to draw up toward the ceiling. And then from here, keeping the feet wide, just take the knees and drop them to the right and to the left a couple times. Just bring some movement into those hips. And then just kind of deciding on how you're feeling. So we have about another 3 to 5 minutes here. You have the option of doing a little bit of a heart opening pose. Again, targeting those meridians at the upper body. Or you can go straight into Shavasana. So if you're like, I'm good, I feel complete, maybe you start to lengthen those legs out, the arms out, start to maybe put some bolsters over you, cover up your eyes, drift off. If you feel like you want to do a little bit of a heart opening, these last 3 to 5 minutes, roll to one side, mindfully press yourself up, and then you're going to take that blanket or that towel, and you're going to find a little bit of a roll in it. And so I usually take my blanket, I fold it so it's like a long rectangle. And you can depend on how high you want this roll to be. I'm going to roll from the side where my hips are going to be. I'm going to start to roll up. And I'm going to give a little bit of space for my head and my shoulders. Actually, go this way. Give myself a little bit of space for my shoulders. And again, you can make this as thick or as little as you want. And then you're going to roll back. And when you lay on it, you're going to lay on it so it's right there across the back, where your nipple line would be in the front. It would be that same place in the back. So right there in that middle back, in that thoracic spine, kind of equal or a little bit under your armpits. You just lay back onto that, and if you feel like it's too high, unroll it. If you feel like it's too low, roll it up. But then your arms are just going to kind of go above that roll, and then your arms are going to go nice and wide. You can bend the elbows or straighten them. Bending the elbows gets a little bit more sensation, and then let that head drop back. If it feels like your head is too far back, you can always prop your head up onto a pillow. And then take those feet wide again, let those knees knock in. Maybe even bring the heels of the feet a little bit closer toward your bum. And just enjoy this sensation here of opening up the front of the body. There should be a nice little sweet spot there. You might need to roll up higher or maybe even a little lower. But there's this nice little sweet spot right there at the upper back, where you feel the support of the bolster on your shoulder blades, feeling the openness of the chest. And then once you're there, settle in, take a nice full inhale. And sigh it out. Allow yourself to just settle into the stillness. When it feels okay for the throat, maybe start to lengthen the chin away from your chest, really opening up that meridian that's running along the neck and the jaw. coming up about on that 3-minute mark. So you have the option to stay here. Or if you want to come a little bit more into that traditional Shavasana, you're going to bring your knees up to center. Walk your feet forward on your, away from your hips, about one big step. And then bring your hands down by your hips. And then lift your hips and slide your hips toward your heels. So you're rolling yourself off of that bolster so that now that bolster is underneath your neck, or that little roll is under your neck. So you have that support. And then your arms can come out. Your legs can lengthen out. And you can find more of a traditional Shavasana shape. Just be here for a couple minutes. Letting that last hot pose go if you use the bolster under your back. Scanning from head to toe to head. Letting yourself surrender. Taking a full inhale here. Let it go. And since you are at home, you feel like you want to lay here a few more moments and let us just end class, you're more than welcome to. If you would like to end class with us, go ahead and start to bend those knees. Draw those knees into your chest, give them a little hug. Maybe rock a little bit from side to side. And then when you're ready, use your arm as a pillow, go over to one side. Maybe even use that roll under your head as a pillow. Pause there for a moment. Check in mentally and physically, acknowledging the shifts from the practice today. And then when you're ready, mindfully press yourself up. Bring all the way back up to seated. Sitting in a seat that's going to be comfortable for you, either cross-legged on your heels, in a chair. And just pause there for a moment, let your hands rest on your thighs. Allow yourself to come into the room, onto your mat, and into your body. Allow yourself to be present in your body as you transition off your mat into your feet and your head. Knowing you did something wonderful for your body, for your mind. We'll seal this practice in with a sigh of the breath tonight. So bring your hands either cupping over your heart or pressing your palms together. Taking a full exhale here. Inhaling. And let it go. Bow your head slightly. Taking a moment to think of one thing in your life that you truly are grateful for. You're holding onto that image in your mind's eye as you raise your head with a smile. Thank you for being here. Drink lots of water, eat your veggies, rest and some love. We'll see you next time. Namaste.